welcome to the Art of Artisan. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. I am going into Explorer as a format, and during an all access event, I was messing around with different Artisan decks, and I wanted to share this one because I think it's the most interesting deck that I could make. Sadly, I can't play with the sideboard because it took the last of my uncommon wild cards. I spend these dangerously fast, and I may not be doing an Explorer video for a while because of that. But the premise of the deck is these trial cards. If you read the bottom ability of each of these, it says, when a Cartouche enters the battlefield under your control, return this to your hand. So that's on all three of these. So we have 12 of these cards, and they're all fairly good controlling cards. So Trial of Ambition makes our opponent sacrifice a creature. Trial of Zeal, we can deal 3 damage to any target, which is often a creature. Trial of Strength makes a 4/2 green beast token, which we usually use to block something and trade off. So all three of these are fairly good at just gumming up the board, removing our opponent's creatures. And so obviously, to have these work, we need to have Cartouches. Cartouche's Zeal is probably the worst one, but it does only cost 1 mana, so we really like this just for that reason. Cartouche of Ambition gives a creature -1/-1 and gives us lifelink. These are both super important for surviving. It's first of all removal for a tiny creature, and also make sure that we don't get burnt out or anything. And Cartouche of Strength is nice just because it's a fight spell. We don't have very big creatures in this deck, but sometimes it is a removal spell as well. So we also need to have a critical mass of creatures, because these Cartouches, I thought about using them to enchant creatures my opponent controls. However, it specifically says enchant creature you control. So we've got Foulmire Knight. This can both be card draw for us, and the Death Touch is specifically nice with Cartouche of Strength. We can enchant this, bounce all of our trials back to hand, and kill something for free. And it will die as well, Foulmire Knight, but it's a removal spell with Cartouche of Strength that also bounces all of our trials. Hateful Eidolon is another card advantage thing that we have in the deck, although bouncing trials is kind of our main card advantage for this. This is definitely a control deck where we're just trying to generate so much value and remove things that our opponent can't win. But this is yet another source of card advantage. If we put a bunch of Cartouches on one of our creatures, then when it dies, we draw that many cards. Being a 3-color deck in Artisan is hard, and Nessian Wanderer is an okay blocker that also helps us get lands out of our deck. It is not uncommon that we literally get we start going through our deck, reach the bottom of our deck, and are still just cutting lands from our deck, so to the point where there's none left, and then we're always drawing action. So this card pulls lands out of our deck whenever we play a Cartouche or a Trial. Really powerful. And there's one big issue with this deck, and that's when we run into control. When we run into control, these creatures die far too easily, and often we have Cartouches stuck in hand that we can't use. As well, Trial of Ambition kind of sucks against control. If it said sacrifices a creature or a planeswalker, that'd be awesome, but it doesn't. So we have Paradise Druid as a powerful tool against control just so that we can have a hexproof creature. If we play this, we can target it with all of our Cartouches, and against control, we're really just trying to loop Zeal and Strength to just keep making creatures that they have to deal with, and Zeal, we can slowly burn them out of the game. However, I really want to talk about the sideboard real quick. I'm not going to be able to use the sideboard. I ran out of wild cards, but I want to talk about the general plan here. Weathered Runestone, there's a lot of Phoenix decks right now, and this is an uncommon card that you can use to hose Phoenix decks. It's not a perfect answer, but it is super nice against Phoenix. Generous Visitor, it's another just kind of generic card. If we're playing against some sort of deck that's playing just big green fatties or whatever, and they don't really have much removal, sometimes just using Generous Visitor can be a good blocker, but I actually see this being more selling for mill decks or non-interactive decks in general that are trying to win with spells somehow, because Generous Visitor is the best option we have for quickly ending a game instead of just controlling it forever. But Control is our worst matchup by far. I've put 3 Fries in the sideboard to kill Teferi, and even 2 Thought Distortions, which can't be countered and just pretty much exiles our opponent's hand. One issue with the Trial of Ambition and Trial of Zeal plan is they're expensive removal spells if our opponent's playing a lot of cheap stuff, so Night Clubber is a solid answer to those, although we do generally just, I think we do end up controlling most of those out of the game with 1/2 blockers and 1/3 blockers, but it's nice to have another answer if your opponent's playing like Improbable Alliance. Nexus Wardens is our answer to burn. This is a really hard creature to kill for our opponents, and it's often going to be like 2 life or even 4 life every turn. So it comes down quick, is a great blocker, and hoses burn fairly well. It also is good against Phoenix as a 1/4 reach. Lastly, as just another answer to control, we have Binding the Old Gods. Solid answer to just everything in general, and we like this card it's kind of just a catch-all jack of all trades card in our sideboard that we'll need it for random things. However, I cannot use this deck unless I remove these, so I'm just going to do that before we actually play. But do know that these are the best options for if you have a sideboard for this deck and want to play in best of 3, which if you're playing a control deck, you usually like best of 3. So, how's this going to do? Can we take a limited design, this Trial of Ambition and Cartouche strategy, which is really restricted? Can we take it and actually make it work on the ladder? Let's get to the games and find out. Alrighty, game 1. The Explorer queue has been a little bit slow, which is sad for me because I really want Explorer to take off. Okay, we've got a creature, we've got cartouches, we've got a turn 2 Trial of Ambition. This looks like a pretty solid hand. I'm going to keep it. It is a little bit scary if our opponent's playing something like that might have a lot of removal for our Wanderer. Opponent? We may be running into some sort of control deck, and that would be really bad. I see is it, and I get scared. Opponent. Okay, they're doing nothing, which helps me to stay scared. Jwari Disruption. Is that a thing in Explorer? Make disappear? Sure. And now we're just going to turn our wheels around a little bit and lose to this control deck. I'm just going to do this now. I'm just going to start trying to burn our opponent out. If they counter this, they counter it. But it doesn't look that threatening when it's just a 3 damage burn spell for 3. That's pretty weak looking. So I want to get it down before our opponent has so many resources that they don't even care. Okay. With Radical Idea in their deck, is this Storm of some sort? Oh yikes, Storm would be scary. I'm just going to play Trial of Ambition. Opponent hassling for 1 mana. Hopefully it's just like oh wait, 2 mana. Oh, and it's probably just Radical Idea. Yeah, okay. So Arclight, yep. There's the good old Arclight Phoenix. Hopefully this Trial of Ambition slows them down a little bit. We're going to want actually double red fairly soon. We do not have in our main deck a way to really answer Phoenix permanently. So this is going to be a rough first game. Cartouche of Ambition, just slowing it down and we could leave it in play is an option. And it also gives us some lifelink, so we may be able to just make the Phoenix worse and race it. But yeah, we're in pretty big trouble. Probably should have gone for black now that I'm looking at it. Let's start by drawing a card. Yeah, because we don't have double black, so we can't play the Cartouche of Ambition yet. Cartouche of Strength. And Paradise Druid. Yeah, this is bad. Ambition can slow it down in lifelink so that we will be gaining life compared to our opponent, but you know that they're eventually going to hit Arclight Phoenix number 2 and Arclight Phoenix number 3. This is probably number 2. Oh wait, no, they attack this turn. Okay, Nessian Wanderer. Does our opponent have... They do have something in hand. Ugh. Well, let's play Cartouche. Opponent probably can't respond to this, because it is going to just, like, it's a hexproof creature. Paradise Druid, really nice in that regard. We'll take a land. We already did play our land drop this turn, but now the big question becomes, do we attack? Because Paradise Druid loses hexproof if we attack. So we can attack. We can just Trial of Ambition, tapping Paradise Druid. But having a 2/1 Arclight Phoenix is probably better than having an Arclight Phoenix in the graveyard, because they're going to bring it back next turn. So I think our only chance, we may still lose, but our only chance here is to race with Lifelink. Sweet. That looks like they don't have a burn spell in hand. They may have a Lightning Axe in hand, though. I believe that's sorcery speed. Okay, Arclight number 2. Hitting us for 5. Alrighty, what do we have to answer this? We can just start removing them. That could work well. We can go Zeal, Ambition, and then, well, we can go, yeah, Trial of Zeal, Trial of Ambition, and then Cartouche of Zeal to bounce them and be ready for next turn. I could buy that. That sounds reasonable. We'll just take untapped lands at this point. I don't think we care too much about the colors. And Ambition, do we get rid of the... I guess it does force them to have to triple spell to keep up. And it does mean that we get to get max value out of bouncing with this Trial of Zeal. So I think we go for it here. Okay. We've already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lands out of our deck. 8. That's pretty good. Try Cartouche of Zeal, and this will make us dodge any 1 mana burn. So I feel pretty good. Nessian Wanderer, you can't block this turn. But yeah, now this Paradise Druid can a bit more safely attack. We'll take the Lifegain. It also clears out our deck of more lands, because Nessian Wanderer is going to make sure we hit land drops for the rest of this game. Now we gain some life. Our opponent's going to hit us for 6 next turn. If they also can remove Paradise Druid, then we probably just lose. But this is... Oh, they're going for face? I would have removed Paradise Druid. That's 4 life that we're gaining. Oh, is this lethal? Lightning Strike kills us here. Lightning Strike. Oh, gotta love Arclight Phoenix. Gotta love Arclight Phoenix. Well, that's why we have a sideboard plan for it, because this is not a deck that we can beat in game 1. Just a general plug, play best of 3, guys, because I make these videos for best of 1 so you can see the deck against a variety of things without getting bored. But I suggest best of 3 because there are a lot more answers to Arclight Phoenix in best of 3. If you can afford the rares, Grafdigger's Cage, 1 mana, ruins Arclight Phoenix decks. Anyways, on to game 2. Game 2 against Madre, but spelled wrong. And we've got a hand that is Creatures, Cartouche, Trial of Zeal, and it lines up really nicely. We've got the mana fixing, we've got card draw, we've got removal, okay. We're facing mono red aggro, it would appear. If our opponent has a burn spell, then Hateful Eidolon is about to look really bad. And they do not, okay. So being able to just have a life-linking threat already is really nice here. If our opponent taps out for anything, like that, ouch, we can at least gain some life with Cartouche of Strength here. So Cartouche of Strength hits here. And next turn we can Cartouche and kill the Goblin Chain Whirler as well, assuming our opponent doesn't remove us somehow, which, knowing they're mono red, they probably will have a way to do that. That means we can't. Oh, that means we can't remove it with what I was thinking. Alrighty. If we Trial of Ambition, They're going to sack the Chain Whirler, I do believe. Yes? Sack the Chain Whirler? Yes, okay. That makes me feel a little bit more safe here. Although Torbran is still just a monster of a card. Our opponent can now start activating Den of the Bugbear. Ring Tree Emissary. Oh gosh. I'm getting flashbacks. This deck is terrible to play against. Cartouche of Strength doesn't actually do anything. With Paradise Druid dead, wow, this is a lot worse of matchups than I was getting when I was testing the deck. Okay. All of these are red. Technically, fighting is they deal damage to each other. So all I can really do to stall my opponent here is I can play Cartouche of Strength, kill Annex, and give my opponent, it's still going to be a bunch of damage. Eek, eek, eek. Because those are all pumped by Torbran still. I'll make them sacrifice one, but at this point, I dare say we have already lost. Good old mono red. Yeah, if they fire up Den of the Bugbear, they win. Wow, wow, wow. Alrighty, at least it was a quick and painless death. Maybe a little bit painful, but quick. On to game 3. Game 3 versus Gabigoo. And this is a bit of a risky keep without cartouches, but Trial of Ambition, I believe, is our best trial. And even if we are against control, we've got something okay, I guess. Alright, black. What we really want to come against is like tribal decks. Soul Sisters is one of our favorite matchups. Burn is not one of our favorite matchups, as we saw last game. Okay, we're just gonna... actually, I think we just run out the trial. Cartouche of Ambition is really nice here, giving us a lifelink source. Because Lifegain is super important against red decks. Once again, we have a sideboard plan for this deck. I guess we want red now. And we'll just run out another trial. Hopefully our opponent's playing pretty much exclusively creatures. Because if so, we can just keep answering them for a while. Runaway Steamkin, that's another creature. Fanatical Firebrand does kill our Foulmire Knight. What it does not do is kill Nessian Wanderer. Okay, so Wanderer and Cartouche of Zeal. We now have something that can block fairly easily, and it brings back... sure, you can't block, whatever. Got a Mountain. We still only have one black source, so we can't double Trial of Ambition next turn. But we do have a little bit more going against this opponent now. I will block Fanatical Firebrand if it swings in. It's a little bit risky, not anymore, because Lightning Strike could kill at that point. Okay, just another Firebrand. They do have a big Steamkin. That is a-okay. Okay, no blocks. This Cartouche of Ambition is going to be really nice. 3 red. Uh-oh, is this removal? Ay. Okay. That was well played on our opponent's part. And now we don't have a way to get Cartouche of Ambition in this turn. Or we do. No, we don't. Fanatical Firebrand is untapped. So I think what we have to do here, I think we start off with Trial of Ambition. And then we're just going to run out Trial of Strength, which can block a big Steamkin. It does die to removal. However, if they're throwing burn spells at my creature instead of my face, I think I'm happy. So let's run it out. See what the opponent can do. Yeah, these burn style red decks are looking a lot easier for our deck than, yeah. So that's 3 damage at our creature, not at our face. That's definitely a win in my books. Foulmire Knight is also something they're probably going to have to throw removal at. Ooh, that's probably better. Cartouche of Ambition isn't actually good against these because the -1/-1 counter doesn't stay on them. It actually just cancels out with the +1/+1 counters. So it's not like it'll make it so they can never reset. If I run out Hateful Eidolon and then Trial of Ambition, yeah, that's an okay run. Okay, they don't have anything. Do I try to pump up Hateful Eidolon? No, I think I'm just going to do this and hope they don't have a burn spell. If they have a burn spell, I'm dead here. Maybe I do just block. Maybe I should have run out Foulmire Knight. I should have run out Foulmire Knight. Because now if they have a burn spell, that's a burn spell. Yeah, now I'm in oh, I'm not in trouble. Wait a second. I can... Actually, this is going to stabilize us really well. Okay, we're going to need a lot of black mana next turn. Well, I'll just start off with this. We'll play our Foulmire Knight. And we will set it up to have lifelink and kill their Vaishino Pyromancer. And we're set up to... So even if they have a burn spell to kill our Foulmire Knight, we now have an answer to their runaway Steamkin. For next turn, I think I'll just grab green. There's a chance I might need double green soon. But yeah, if they like draw a land or something, then we are going to be really stable. Okay, play with fire. And now the question is, can our opponent draw a burn spell before we draw? That's... Ooh, nope, can't do that yet. Okay, but next turn, we are going to gain 5 life. So can our opponent hit us before we gain 5 life and just take over the game? Vaishino Pyromancer. Yes! Yes! Okay, here we go. I'll start off with green-green. No, green-red. Play Nessian Wanderer. Now we play green... Actually, it doesn't matter now. Okay, yeah. Green, black, red. If we hit an Eidolon... No, we won't. Okay. Cartouche of Ambition. Gain 5 life. Sure, but we will decline to use the ability. Nothing there. And we now have a life-linking threat, which means our opponent's next burn spell has to go at it, which means we are fairly stable. I can't think of anything our opponent can really do to get out of this now. Yes! And that is a victory for Cartouche Control. We did not need our Lifegain that game, which was a little bit surprising to me, but yeah, we didn't need a sideboard to beat a deck that I thought we would struggle against. So that's a point in favor of Cartouche Control. On to game number 4. Game number 4, Mark Madison. Alrighty, last game was super good. I liked how the deck felt. This hand is a risky keep. If we draw one more land, we can start dropping cartouches on these, which will draw us cards. You know what? I like it. We'll go with it. I mean, we don't know what our opponent's doing, so we don't even know what type of control we need to be. Oh, someone just lost to mill, and they want to play a 215 card deck. I have a bit of respect for people who play these decks. It kind of gives you a feel sort of like Commander, where you're not as consistent with your deck. You're just playing a bunch of cards you like, all mashed together. That's not a good draw. We may get punished for our bad kept hand. We're going to lose to one of these 200 card decks. That would be disappointing. Yeah, I like when people do these sorts of decks. Actually, never mind, I don't. It's just it's one of these decks. Okay. Please do not gain life before this turn, because we can trial of, actually, even if they gain life, we can trial of Zeal the Cleric. So this is okay. Alrighty, so they gain 4 life, but this only triggers once each turn, so Killian will not trigger it a second time. Yeah, okay, I'm okay with that. Murderous Rider. So the funny thing here is we can still attach stuff to Hateful Eidolon to try and return our trials to hand. So we do actually have uh like even though this is Faith's Fetters, it's a lot more manageable than other removal spells. That is a terrible card that I hate. Um okay, what options do we have here? Cartouche of Ambition makes it a 3/3. Means we can kill it next turn with Trial of Zeal. Our opponent does not currently have any payoffs for the life gain, so that may just have to be the route we go, is play for the long game. We can also just play Paradise Druid and bounce Cartouche with... Okay, yeah, this is a better plan, because Paradise Druid we can block something with. So we do this, and oh wait, no, this is a bad plan. I was thinking we can Trial of Zeal and Cartouche of Ambition the same turn. That doesn't work. So I have made a big oopsie. And now I think I have to pay the price and just do this. Foulmire Knight to block Leon and War Leader. We'll be able to use Cartouche of Ambition to kill one of the cats that it made. Cartouche of Strength now means Paradise Druid can kill Killian. Trial of Zeal can clean up whatever our opponent's working on next. Manlands. These manlands are actually a big problem. That is a big problem as well. Okay. Yep. Alright. We dead. Yeah, we're dead. Okay. Yeah. Lifegain doing Lifegain things. We were just a little bit too slow on our lands. Our opponent had 6, we had 3. That is not where you want to be with a control deck. Well, let's see if we can turn it around a little bit with this game 5. Game 5 against Sandscour. Or Sandscour. I don't know. Okay. This is another hand where we may get mana screwed. But I do like having Eidolon and Ambition. We're going to go for it. Okay. That is a sign that our opponent is doing something slow, which means we may be able to just outvalue them. There was actually a super cool game that I ran into while testing where I played against a Scoop Swarm deck. Finn. Ooh, Finn. Alrighty. Our opponents... I'm just going to shut this off before they can do anything. Finn is probably the core card of their deck. Also another above 60 card deck. Let's go. But yeah, I played against a deck where they had gotten 4 Scoot Swarms on the battlefield, and I just got so much value by looping these cartouches, and like the cartouches themselves are removal. And so I was looping a bunch of cartouches in trials, and I was able to beat back the Scoot Swarms. Like I'd kill 2, they'd make 2 more. I'd kill 3, they made 1, and then I killed 2. Like it was really fun to get to play that type of game against an opponent. Opponent's definitely doing some sort of like, why Finn? Everything else is looking kind of rampy, like foretold cards and everything. But I guess we'll see. Trial of Strength. This is going to be really nice for improving our clock. Because I think our opponent, if they get enough mana, may just win. That's kind of what their deck is looking like. The nice thing against blue-green, though, is we don't have to really play around sweepers. Okay, Asika. Omen of the Sea. What is our opponent up to? World Tree plus a Sika could be like a prismatic bridge sort of play. I think here we obviously aren't attacking with Paradise Druid. I don't think our opponent has removal for it, so I don't care about tapping it. So we'll do that. And it looks like green is our most, like we've got multiple green trials and a green cartouche. Opponent, what are you up to? Oh, all right. It's a world tree thing. Oh, Alrund's Epiphany. Okay. Am I about to just get extra turned forever? Oh, I would hate getting extra turned forever. We can block Questing Beast. That's nice. And we will block Questing Beast in an instant. Trial of Ambition just got really bad, though. Alrighty. Blocked. Killed. Easy trade there. Do we have enough cards? No, we do not. So we can do this to kill the Merfolk Wind Robber with our Hateful Eidolon. I actually think that's the best play here, because we're going to start ambitioning. We just want to kill all their little stuff, I think. Yes, we will do that fight. And then we will, actually, we're going to swing in first. If our opponent blocks, then we can kill a Sika with the Trial of Ambition. Double block, let's go. Okay. I think they did not think that through, because now this Trial of Ambition actually does something. I mean, I don't care about losing the 4-2. I've got more 4-2s on their way. Is this going to be a World Tree, like, Maskwood Nexus combo? Are they trying to just pull a bunch of gods out of their deck? That could be what this is. And if so, we'll have to see if we can keep up with that incredible amount of value. Which, maybe we can? That'd be kind of cool. Okay, Trial of Strength, that increases our clock quite a bit. And we can give it haste with this Cartouche, which I think we will just run out now. Cartouche of Zeal. And let's get in there. Our Eidolon can't block this turn. We've got another Trial of Ambition ready to go. Our opponent does have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. They need 11 to pull off the World Tree thing. That's an Alrund's Epiphany. Please don't just keep playing those. Okay, this is the one where you can copy instants and sorceries. Oh no, please do not be copying extra turn spells. I cannot handle copied extra turn spells. Mentally, that is. Okay. Cartouche of Ambition kills off one of their flyers. So we fire this off. Okay, that kills a flyer. We need to kill another flyer before we can Trial of Ambition here. So I think the next step, we swing in with this alligator. Actually, do we swing in with everything? If we do this, and they block like alligator with that, and then something else with that, we get to kill God Eternal Kefnet. We trade one of our creatures for God Eternal Kefnet. If they just block alligator and we get in, then that's nothing really lost. If they just block one of these, that puts them down to really low life. But is that worth it? I don't think so. I think we just get in, put them close to dead. Okay, they just take the damage. And so we will run out another threat, which is another lethal threat. They now have to block pretty much everything. What do they have? So here we're seeing the power of Trial of Strength against these more controlling decks. Great Henge, that's not going to do it. I mean, that can gain them some life, but we're now making it so they can't block. Yeah, I think we win. I think we got the win on this one. Yes! And that is a 2-3 record, which is really good for Explorer. Oh, I'm glad that this worked out. I mean, we did lose pretty much every time we ran against a tier deck, which was a lot of these. Oh, well, actually, we won against Burns, so we did okay against tier decks. We did okay against non-tier decks. Um, I guess let's talk about it in the wrap up. Well, I updated the record with all the games that I played off recording. I really enjoy playing this deck. I think it's a deck that I love because of how many different lines there are. There's a question of, do I save my cartouches in hand until I have more trials down? And the cartouches all have like multiple important lines of text. Like, am I going to put this -1/-1 counter on a specific thing? Like, do I need to use this as a removal spell? Am I just going to run this out even when there's nothing to remove because I need lifelink? Fight spells are always interesting because you're worried about your opponent having instant speed interaction. It is a control deck with a lot of super interesting lines, and it does not play like your average blue-white control deck. Very fun deck. I highly recommend you try it out if you already happen to have the wild cards. If you did a lot of drafting of Amonkhet, it's practically a free deck to make, even if you are low on uncommon wild cards. As far as upgrades to the deck, um, let me think for a second. Hexproof creatures. Are there any other hexproof creatures that are just rares? Like we've got Garruk's Harbinger, Spore Web Weaver. I don't think there's actually too much that you can do to upgrade the deck as far as the main deck goes. As far as the sideboard goes, Grafdigger's Cage. Grafdigger's Cage is huge. Actually, let me check something else. Constellation. Um, oh crap. I do think Cetessan Champion or some other effect along these lines. Like there are some decent payoffs in other colors. And if you have the ability to make a good mana base, you could go 4-color. And if you go 4-color, I recommend you add blue as the last color. What blue gives you is a much better sideboard plan against control, and it gives you a much better game 1 against control because the trial draws cards. White is also okay because it gives you a really cheap, and probably the best cartouche is the white cartouche, but the white trial just gives your team +2/+1. It's a pump spell, which when you're trying to be a kind of controlling value-centric deck, not a good idea. But yeah, lands definitely is the biggest upgrade I would suggest for this deck. There were quite a few times where I was feeling a little mana screwed. We saw that in the matches that I recorded. Sideboard, if you can replace these Weathered Runestones with Grafdigger's Cage, there's probably a few other just big hosers. Like you might even consider running sweepers in this deck. Like you could go a lot heavier into the control role. You can have some more. I'm trying to think of other solid answers that you'd want in your sideboard that are rares. Look up top tier, um, top tier explorer decks. Check out what they have in their sideboard. Copy over all the best rares. But yeah, that was Cartouches. Fantastic deck. I love playing it. Not hyper competitive, but it's really hard to make an interesting competitive deck in Explorer. Like red deck wins, some basic red aggro decks can do it. But a lot, and I guess there's like mono blue tempo. But besides those kind of boring mono-colored good stuff decks, you really struggle to get a positive win rate. And this deck came close. Like 7-11, not fantastic, but semi-competitive. This is a deck worth playing. So I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you have any suggestions for maybe Jund isn't the colors you'd go for cartouches, maybe you have a better build in other colors, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear because I'd be willing to revisit this deck in other colors. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video and keep on enjoying Budget Magic.